Hello. Wow, I can't believe it's been a year, haha. Oh, what the freak? Hey freaks. I appreciate y'all, D. I'm almost 4. Pride rise.
How we
Hey
doing?
chat and hey Americans, just wanted to remind you all that there are literal billions of us that love you and will be there for you, and that together we are gonna be okay. I've got a massive headache, so I'm just here to say thanks for making me feel better when I've been feeling so hopeless with school and the world. Keep being awesome,
Hockey
man.
tonight, 7 p.m., 4 hours, yeah. Facing Utah. How are we feeling? I'm having a weird moment. I'm having a weird consideration. Because I don't know.
To quote Aaron Hansen, I am not okay.
People seem to like my political commentary, which is very strange. And I don't know how to feel about that. Like what exactly? Like I had an extreme spike of
7
views
months,
during
and
the
what better
election,
way to celebrate it than by
and people seem
Matrinas?
to like appreciate my input. And also every time I watch something like that on stream, people show up and seem to enjoy it. So now I'm having this weird sort of thing where it's like should I do that? Because it's not like people don't like me playing games, but who did I vote for? I don't know. The person not threatening millions of lives, probably. So I'm sure you can figure that one out. But something's telling me you might not. I think I'd enjoy making it. I don't know. I think it's I think I might lose it a little bit. But also this discussion is fascinating. So um I don't know. Maybe it's more of during very politically tense moments like now. It's worth me coming out and talking about these sorts of things, but kind of why I decided to title that today and kind of stick to it today, maybe for a bit, because I'm sitting here like I'm not going to say there's a need there because, you know, people like Hassan put in plenty of work, probably better than I would. But at the same time, plenty of people come here as opposed to sit there and listen to him. Not that he's saying anything wrong. So it's like, I can, I guess, provide a similar service. I don't know. I don't know. I'm having a weird, like, is this something I'm actually, like, meant to lean towards? I don't know. That makes sense. I don't know. I think it's an interesting time. Um, I keep having these discussions and I keep talking to people about it. And I guess not to be narcissistic, but a little bit, I feel like I have thoughts about how the Democratic Party's gone wrong again and why and stuff like that. Because, I mean, I don't know. I think it's worth a discussion because I think people are disappointed and rightfully so. I mean, 15 million votes just don't exist this time. How the hell does that happen? How does that happen, man? And there's discussion of like vote stealing whatever, but I'm also not sure they could have gotten away with stealing 15 million votes. That's a lot. That's a lot of votes, man. I think a lot of people would, I don't know. If third party voters would have voted blue, she would have won PA. You see, that's the thing though, and this is kind of um they went into the same stratagem that they have twice. They went at this angle of, well, it's not him. But that doesn't work anymore. It worked once. because people had the recency of him being in charge. That didn't happen this time. They don't have that. People forget stuff instantaneously. I mean, you will forget what you ate tomorrow unless you think about it. Or today, I mean. You will forget about what you ate yesterday unless you have to think about it. And people don't want to think about it. You know what I mean? And like, they went at this tactic of, well, we're not him, so obviously you're going to vote for us. And it's like, that's not. They're using a logic that assumes that everybody's going to think critically, and unfortunately, that's just not what's going to happen. And not what happens. And so what else? I don't know. They did exactly what Clinton did, because the same campaign people managed her campaign that led Kamala's, by the way. They hoped for this assumption of like, well, people are just going to vote for it because they don't want Trump. And also, we'll try to leak into the Republican side of things and get some people to come over. Shockingly enough, that didn't fucking work, as it didn't with Clinton, because they were so confident about Trump's inability to seem Republican that they thought they could just get Republican votes. So they did the same thing. Guess what happened? It didn't work. The same thing happened. Like, that's, how do you fall for the same thing under the same person managing the campaign, and how are you shocked with the results? Like, the same person. It's the same person. Like, it was the same campaign manager, if I remember right. So, like, it's just fascinating. I don't know. It's fascinating to have lost that bad. And did they explain what tariffs are? No. I don't think so. Does anybody have a clip of them explaining how tariffs are bad for the consumer? I don't know if they ever did. All they would have had to do is dig out what he's saying and preach the opposite to appeal to the much more progressive and younger generation, and they would have had plenty. Except they went about this thing again where they're like, well, maybe we could steal some votes from the other side. It doesn't work when there's only two sides. It doesn't. There's a psychological effect there. The in-group, out-group biases are created when there's only two opposing sides. And you just get one side being like, well, I'm not them, so I can't support that. Despite potential similarities and similar policies. They tried to, this is the exact kind of shit that I'm talking about. Biden and Harris tried to pass an immigration border law, right? They tried to pass a law a couple months ago that Trump made the Republican Senate shut down, so Biden didn't look good. That law is very pro-Republican in terms of its, like, policy. Yet, they shut it down just so the other group doesn't look good. That's exactly what I mean. That is a very, like, microcosm of exactly why this happens. And, like, they chose a criminal. He's a felon. He's a convicted felon, and you lost to it. That's not for no reason, as much as I hate to say it. It's just not, like, no reason. Why do they even let a felon run? Because there's not a law saying he can't. That's the problem. Harris had the perfect chance to campaign as someone open to change and listening to her voters, but she instead went with, I'm not Trump. Exactly. She did exactly what Biden did and stood next to him the whole way. But that's exactly the issue, is people didn't want Biden, not because he's too old, but because he's Biden. And he's old, but it was more about him being very down the middle and also crossing over than anything else. Like, it wasn't, I don't know. I think they just like thought it was because he was old, so they just put Kamala up there, or yeah, they just put her up there to like preach to the same choir. And I'm like, I mean, I came in this with so much optimism, but like, they were shit talking Trump so much. Trump does it, but he also talks about policies. Harris almost never talked about anything. I don't think Trump talks about policies as much as you think he does. I think he does this really. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier with somebody. Like, he doesn't necessarily talk about them. He says he is. But this is what people care about.
Well,
Like,
I just got my hair cut shorter than it's been in 8 years earlier today.
ultimately,
Does this mean I
all
fall
she would
into
have
the
had to
category
do
as people who chop their hair off after something bad
is
happens, or
appear willing to be progressive and towards the younger generation? All she would have had to do was make people feel that. They do not care once she's in office. Their vote matters, and what they stand for matters when it's time to vote. They can't do anything about it once she's in. I mean, yes and no, but how many presidents have won the presidency and not done half the things they promised? All of them. All of them. Obama said, like, during his campaigning that he was going to ratify Roe v. Wade. Guess what? He fucking didn't. He said the first thing he was going to do was do that. He never did. Never did. And look what happened. It's still fucked up that they got rid of it, but like, ultimately they had a decade. Obama had a decade to do what he said he was going to do day one of his first term.
Not Trump told, yep, that's the one.
Exactly. Like, it's not uncommon for a presidential elect to like say they're going to do all sorts of things and then not do it. That's literally all they do. They go up there for months, talk about how they're going to fix everything, and convince everybody to drink the Kool-Aid. That's all they do. The problem is the Democratic Party is convinced that they have to offer the same Kool-Aid to get more voters. But spoiler alert, they're already voting for some guy. Like, they're already drinking Kool-Aid somewhere else. They already like that one. You can't offer a drink to somebody who's not thirsty. They think that it's good to go. Like, he convinces people. This is as backhanded of a compliment as I can make it. He is a magnificent con artist. He has convinced people that he can help them and make them money or save them money. He has told people that. Does he do it? No. But he has mastered the ability to tell people that. And that's exactly the problem. Is what it boils down to is right now, that's what people care about. Like, they care about their wallet. Most people do. That's where people's priorities lay 50% of the time, if not more. All he said was that he was going to fix it. I mean, you know, a little like summarized, but ultimately he's just like, I will make you not spend much. And that's all people want to hear. That's it. That's all a lot of people want to hear. Some people have like higher sense of morality for other people, etc. Like a lot of you probably voted for Kamala because you wanted better for other people. You know what I mean? But there are a lot of people who think very close-mindedly and inward. Like, they don't get it. They don't get it. They're working, like, I don't know, man. You could ask any working class member, and I doubt they're thinking of anything except how to put food on the table half the time. And here comes this guy being like, I can put food on your table. No shit, they're not going to listen because that he's saying what they want to hear. I mean, I'm not saying all she had to do, because hindsight bias, of course, it seems simple, but it probably would have been much harder. They could have just poked holes in his arguments. They could have poked holes in his concepts. They could have poked holes in his idea of tariffs. They could have just explained tariffs to people. The thing that he describes is an import tax, not a tariff. But a tariff taxes the consumer, not the company importing. Like, I think they hit some points. Like, they said stuff about like first time home buyers getting like a bonus or a given amount. Same with like people who have kids, whatever. But ultimately, you have a significant amount of people who are not close to doing either of those things with themselves because they're too busy living paycheck to paycheck. Like, they're not going at the source. They're going at the, like, their focus towards like economic fixing was towards like these long-term goals people have when they ultimately like start living and grow up, which is you know, maybe you buy a house, maybe you have a kid, maybe you don't, maybe you get married, maybe you don't, maybe you get a house. But there are an absurd amount of people who can't even consider those options because they just can't even make a savings. You know what I mean? And they just never. They just never, like, I don't know. Yeah, that's what sucks is Trump does a really good job. Wait, she did not do nothing at all, much at all. Trump's awful, but he did a good job rallying people up and was very active. Literally didn't do much of anything. You go to her YouTube, it's a bunch of shorts of her talking to kids and Beyonce. Like, cool. Not making an argument. Yeah, I think. I don't know. I think it's like, I don't know, man. Presidents will sit here and promise a million things when they run, and ultimately they could ideally get one impactful thing done. Obama had 8 years and had a predominantly Republican like Senate to work against. And he did the one thing that he ultimately did that's like a life changer for people was get Obamacare to happen. But that alone is like, that alone is a big deal. It's still a big deal. Pre-existing conditions were like an absolute horror to people, and insurance companies abused that. Yeah, he legalized gay marriage too. That's a good point. Totally forgot about that. I feel like it's just been so like, duh to me. I don't know. But yeah, ultimately, like, you would hope a president would make one significant change to any change. Because, I mean, I can't imagine having to fix everything. And the thing is people, the predominant population's concern is their livelihood, their income, their expenses. Like, you get down to brass tacks, there's a lot more things going on, and some other things are much more concerning. But if you talk to like an average American, they are worried about their wallet. And they're always going to be. And the discussion continues to circulate around expenses. People are worried about their spending. I'm worried about my spending. Like, and he knows that. He knows that because he's been doing it the whole time. Even before he went into politics, he would tell people things and promise them riches and wealth and all sorts of stuff if they were to just invest in him. That he's just doing it on the political stage now. Like, yeah, I mean, once again, worried about wallet versus worried about literal right to exist. I get it. Like, trust me, I understand. Some of you are much more scared for much more valid reasons. And because your rights are at stake, and I totally get that. And I'm with you on that. I understand. But like, you ask, and what I said earlier, man, like, people, the reality is there are a significant amount of people who are strictly for themselves because they have lived in a moment of time where they have had to just claw and nail and climb out of it and survive and don't have a way to save things and they're paycheck to paycheck, etc. Like, there's more people doing that than not, and they're tired, which is understandable, and they're being told by a guy that they don't have to do it anymore, even if it by a little bit. And that's what people want to hear. That's what people want to hear. You could probably ask a good amount of people who voted for him, and they're just going to talk about the economy. But he's lying? Well, I know. That's all he does. But like, people aren't thinking that deeply. There's a lot of people who think deeply about their candidates and make good discerning choices and like think about it very like analytically. But there's also plenty of people who think about it black and white. Trump said he's fixing the economy. Kamala really did it. He didn't say a whole lot about fixing the economy. I mean, she did, but then she didn't. She said that she was going to do some sort of taxing on groceries and stuff like that. But like, you can't just like offer the same solution and think people are going to be like, oh, okay. That's kind of like that's the problem is the Democratic Party keeps putting these people up against him, and they're basically like, guys, were like that, but like not as crazy. And people are like, so it doesn't matter then, which is, you know, fucked up, but kind of what ends up happening, because their priority is like fixing their own lives. And then he's saying he'll fix it. And then after a while, she's saying she'll fix it. And they're like, well, he already said it. So like, I'm already kind of here and doing this. You know what I mean? Says the right 5 words over and over again, and everyone goes poggies. Yeah, I mean, literally. I guess that's the point I'm making, man. It's like he just realistically said the right thing every single time over and over, and it doesn't matter the rest he said. And they were just like, yeah, let's do it. Most of the people aren't even going to pay attention to what he's doing. They're not even going to keep up with what he's saying or what he's doing or what he signs or what he puts into action. They're just going to be like, he's fixing the economy. He said he would. Yeah. I think, I don't know. I think the Democratic Party keeps going at this angle of like, let's get these, let's swing voters. Let's swing voters over. And it just doesn't. How many times are you going to fail for that to happen? How many times are you going to have that blow up in your face before you're like, maybe this isn't who we should be trying to grab? A lot more people voted last time. You know, if we're assuming there's nothing about election fraud in this one, 15 million Democratic votes disappeared this time. Why is that? You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, I understand, guys, that there was like bomb threats and ballot boxes getting burnt a few times in places, but 15 million? I mean, this is like, you guys are talking like grand conspiracy. You are talking like the exact same. This is gonna hurt, but this rhetoric is exactly what happened in 2020 when Trump lost. Because you know what their argument is? Where did 15 million votes come from? The story has 180'd. Because if you'll see people talking about where did these votes go, where did these votes go, something's going on, all of the replies who are Republican and Trump supporting are going, exactly. Where did they come from? Where did they go? Where did they come from last time? You know what I mean? But as far as I'm concerned, they're legitimate. And they could have been legitimate this time, but what they didn't do was appeal to people. How about the people that voted for random people? Somebody put together every single vote that wasn't for Kamala or Trump, and even if Kamala won every single one of those votes instead, she still would have lost the swing states. So that's how I feel about it. she objectively lost. It wasn't like Clinton where like enough people said went Jill Stein that she lost a few places and that made a huge difference. She
Quietly
straight up
subscribes
lost
and nods
even
along.
if that didn't happen. And that's it, man. That's your answer. There are people who simply did not vote. And for what I am going to say is good reason. Because they did not do a good job of making people feel like they should. Like, they had the hype of her showing up and taking over. They had the momentum, and then they just sat. And then they were like, oh, what do we do? Let's do what we've been doing. What do you mean? People were excited. People were pumped about her. All she had to do was keep hitting these points that people needed to see and wanted to hear. And dude, when she did her speech at the Democratic National Convention and bragged about America having the most lethal military, my skin crawled, man. That is not what I want to hear. Who do you think that's for? None of us. That is exactly what I'm talking about. That is for the opposite side wanting to bring some in because they know they're watching and they want to get those other people. They want to get some Republicans who are leaning over to come over. That's not a brag. That's an attempt to grab voters. Absolutely. They're just catering to the right. Exactly. I mean, that is like, that's the problem, is they did exactly what they've been doing and they try to cater to the right thinking it's going to work. And it didn't work in 2016. The only reason we won in 2020 was because people had direct exposure to a Trump presidency and they did not want another. So all they needed was a recognizable figure like a VP that was there for 8 years to go up against him. That was it. That's all people wanted. But that people only want that for so long. Also, Biden said he was a transitional president. And then when he all of a sudden wasn't, people were like, well, what the fuck, dude? Because what is that? It's truly baffling, man. I don't know like where they're getting their ideas from, but they're just old. Like they don't I'm like convinced they don't understand that there are 2 generations younger than them right now. Absolutely. I agree. Day one, Biden should have been moving mountains for the next nominee. I absolutely agree. If that was his goal he claimed to have had, this should have been the plan for the whole time. But the problem is he went for it, and I don't know if he convinced them or they convinced him, but he went for it despite probably not he shouldn't have. And then they gave Kamala 100 days to figure it out, which is diabolical, by the way. Diabolical work to set her up like that. I think if she had had more time to figure it out, it might have been different. But they gave her not even half a year. And I can bet that it's such an overwhelmingly and insurmountable task that she leaned on the Democratic Party to help her guide her way through it. And they told her the same shit that they told Clinton, that they told Biden. Try to get the swing vote. Try to get the other side to come over. And she tried. And we have a worse outcome than when Clinton did it. A worse outcome. Once again, I'm going to let's repeat it. She did worse than Clinton. Like, she lost that night. It took like 5 days for them to call Pennsylvania last election. I find it hard to believe that there was a record turnout when Pennsylvania was that quick to decide. Like, they're just they're just like, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's like they don't understand and don't hear. Like, they don't go into these avenues that younger generations indulge in. They hear from older generations who indulge in the news, and they get feedback from the news, and they don't search on TikTok and online and look for the voices that younger generations use and the culture points that they indulge in. So all they hear is this like right-wing centrist attitude. So they relay on that point, thinking that that's where they get it, and that's where they win. It hasn't worked twice now. When it's in very important elections. Wasn't she on TikTok a lot? What was she doing on TikTok, though? Was she, I mean, let's just look, man. Let's look. Why not? Let's look at some of her TikToks and see what she was doing. Jesus. Cuz I've seen a few. I've seen a few before. I can't say I've seen them all, but I don't remember most of them being politically relevant. If the ultimate goal here is to get support and get votes, then you have to make that happen on the avenues you need those votes at. But like, let's take a gander, I guess. This is the Kamala HQ account, right? This is Rand from her team. Like, this is
Conservative Mark Gagnon says instead of Trump, he's picking the Harris-Walz ticket.
I voted for him the first time he ran. I was gravely disappointed. I think we need younger people. I mean, what's an 80-year-old person know what a 30-year-old family needs?
Holy shit, bro. This random guy made better sense than their whole campaign did. That's actually like literally my point. That is absolutely my point right then and there. And they're posting this on their account and they still don't get it. That's fucking wild. The first one I clicked makes the exact point I'm trying to make, and I didn't even try that. That was totally unintentional. Like, they sit here and lean into this older generation that doesn't give a fuck and has proven time and time again that they don't give a fuck. Yet they're like trying to get them to listen as if they're gonna, and they're not. So where do you go? You go towards the next generations.
Hi guys.
Jesus. But like, look. Right, like TikTok. This is Trump slander, TikTok relation. Like, this could be considered fine.
Especially for being a biracial African American. I stand for everyone behind me. This is for women's rights, and I think it's important. So let's win. Let's do this. My mom raised me very well, and this is really important.
This is great.
For you, I see you getting emotional. What is it like for you to come in here with your daughter side by side?
Like, this is great. This is the point. Like, they're so close. They're so close. Literally, like, Charlie XCX said Kamala is brat, and then they were like, Trump is weird. Thumbs up. And everybody clapped because that's funny and great. But where's, like, this is rhetorical. Where are the policies? The policies are on her site. How many young people, how many of you, with a show of hands, went to her website to look at her policies? I fucking didn't. Look at this. DNC, are you watching? Look at this. My viewer average range of age is 18 to 26. This is the young vote right here. This is your young vote right here. None of them looked. I mean, obviously a very small pool of people. They've been on her website since she ran, since she started. Why would you not? Because people don't want to. People don't want to put in the effort. This is the exact point I'm trying to make here. There are TikToks on here with millions of views. Millions of views. And I don't even know if any of them are actually discussing the political points she needed and wanted and tried to make. The problem is Trump speaks a lot of nonsense, but at the same time, he speaks a certain amount of policy. He doesn't at the end of the day because he speaks it in a lot of vague terms, but it's enough to make people clap. You know what I mean? Like, let's scroll a bit further down to like, well, that's Trump slander. Like, this is Trump slander. Trump slander. Brett Kavanaugh slander, so the Republican Party slander. Excuse me. Trump slander. SNL moment. Obama moment. Trump slander. 4 TikToks about SNL. 10 million views on this one, by the way. 10 million views. A celebrity endorsement. Trump slander. What the hell is that? Oh, it's muted. Well, TikTok. I'm considering like stuff for virality or stuff to appeal to TikTok consumers. I'm labeling that personally as like TikTok, indulging in TikTok culture, right? That is indulging in TikTok culture to get people to clap their hands and go, yay. All right. Ultimately, that can convince some people, but that's not going to get people who like want to hear something good from the person they want to vote for. Like, it's an attention grab, and that's ultimately what it is. You know what I mean?
Hey, Shanna. me your hand. Shake my hand. How you doing?
A 2-minute closing ad.
And that's exactly how I feel.
That's what I'm doing, man.
Okay, you have to stay in touch with me, okay? I'm very serious about that.
Love to.
Okay. Throughout this campaign, I've seen the best of America, and I've seen what is holding you back and weighing you down. High costs, fundamental rights taken away, and politics that have driven fear and division. You deserve better. As president, I'll bring a new generation of leadership. I'll take on price gouging.
What does that mean?
And bring down the cost of groceries and housing and prescriptions.
Okay,
I'll fight for your freedom to make your own choices.
this is good.
And I will protect your health care and your
But
benefits,
5 days ago.
not take them away. The vast majority of people in our country have so much more in common than what separates them. Good people, hardworking people. We see in our fellow
That is like
Americans
10
neighbors,
or 20
not
seconds
enemies.
of policy in a 2-minute video.
We believe in each other. We believe
This
in
should have
our
been the
country.
first fucking thing.
We're not
100%
falling
agree.
for these folks who are trying to divide us. Together, we'll build a brighter future for our nation, where we stand for freedom.
This is
we
all-
stand for justice. We stand
This is the
for
Kool-Aid, guys.
dignity of work. We haven't yet quite reached all of those
This is the Kool-Aid.
ideals, but we will.
Like, okay. I'm telling you right now, you could look at Trump, pro-Trump stuff. They are saying very similar. Like, once again, they're offering a different flavor of Kool-Aid. Ultimately. You know what I mean? The part over here where she's talking about like what she wants to do is great. That's what you want from your president or your incumbent. You want them to look into what's going on or what they want to do, whatever. That's an endorsement. Trump. This is not a bad one. Like, this is the thing, is like, I get if a video doesn't do well, but like some of this Trump slanderous one, this has 19 million views. And like, yeah, it's funny, but like, that's not what secures your young vote, man. Like, just clowning on somebody doesn't, it's great. It's funny, but that's not what is gonna, it's not what's going to get people. You know what I mean? Celebrity endorsement. I don't even know what that is. Trump slander, celebrity endorsement. Trump slander. TikTok slop. Trump slander.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
Unlike Donald Trump, I don't believe people who disagree with me are the enemy.
This is exactly my point. Like, I'm sure you have all seen it plenty, where it's like that comic of two sides protesting and like somebody says equal rights and the other side says like kill blank. Enter like whatever fits, because too many of it fits. And some random dude in the middle is like, both sides are equal. Both sides share opinions. That doesn't mean we can't be friends. What are you fucking talking about, dude? They're literally saying kill trans people, flatten Gaza. And you're saying that, like, what are you saying here? That they're not the enemy? They're saying kill people. Like, what? Sitting here and like trying to get people from that attitude and this side and that, and be like, it's okay, guys, you can come over here. They don't fucking want to. They don't want to. And there's this weird like inability to see that. A celebrity endorsement, Trump slander, TikTok, Trump slander, Trump slander, Trump slander. Wait, let's see.
Donald Trump's not done. Did anybody hear what he had to say just yesterday? And I'll tell you, it was outrageous. So he said,
This could be good.
on the issue of freedom of choice, reproductive freedom, he said that he will do what he wants because, quote, this is his perspective. He will do it whether the women like it or not. Whether the women like it or not. Can you imagine?
This is a good use of slander.
This is not the first time he has told us he does not believe women should have authority or agency over their own bodies.
This is a good one.
This is the same person who said that women should be punished for their choices. And what we know
This is relevant to one of the things she wanted to stand for in terms of her policy.
who simply does not respect the freedom of women or the intelligence of women to make decisions about their own lives.
But like, this still falls into this point of like, well, I don't say that. I'm not going to do that. Well, what are you going to do? Well, we're for women. What do you mean? What are you going to do about it? Well, we're for women. What does that mean? What are you going to do for women if you're for women? Well, not what he's doing. So nothing. You're just going to let it sit how it is, which is bad. How it is bad. Because they just deleted federal abortion rights. You can't even commit. They can't commit to saying they're going to do that. Because you know why? Because they want Republican votes who might be pro-life. Guarantee it. I guarantee it. I guarantee you. That's exactly why. They want to appeal to the women on the Republican side of things without blatantly being, we're going to restore abortion rights. Like, yes, she had full opportunity to take a huge left and get tons of people to lean hard left and lean for people's rights and lean for people's well-being and safety. Yet she went for this same centrist approach that Clinton did, that Biden did. Guess what happened? She got her ass kicked. And it's not even hard centrist, it's center right, exactly. I keep seeing people talking about flawless campaign. Like, I just don't agree. I think you get 100 days to figure it out, and like, I'm sure she did the best she could with 100 days. And I think the Democrats set her up to fail in that regard. I think somehow trying to invest in Biden when he wasn't meant to be and making her have less time to work and figure it out is ultimately how you get a result like this. You just fall onto what is habitual and default, and that's what Democrats have been doing, which is appealing to the centrist vote, which doesn't exist. Doesn't exist anymore because both sides of the political spectrum have become so intense and vitriol against the other that they don't want to hear it.
Unfortunately.
What they want to hear is their side fired up and promising things that they want to hear. And like, I don't know. I don't know. I like, that's one good one out of like so many of them. You know what I mean? She could have ran all over the shit he says because he constantly says ridiculous shit. Like, why not just be like, don't you want a president that actually thinks about not themselves? Don't you want a president that's going to verbatim, like directly imply that they're going to restore Roe v. Wade or something similar, or directly state that they're going to like help with the genocide in Gaza? Like, but she didn't until it was too late. Like, she could have just kept taking things, and this is why, part of why Trump won in 2016, because he just kept bullying Clinton, albeit through the same points. But it works because if people hear the same thing over and over, eventually they're like, oh yeah. Just like Trump is sitting there for the past 4 years after he lost, calling Joe old and incompetent. Like, does anybody know the age difference between Trump and Biden? Not a lot. It's like 3 years. I believe Biden is 81 and Trump is 78. If I'm correct. They're both fucking old. Except Trump relayed this point for years, that Joe was old and senile and incompetent, to the point where people are like, yeah, he kind of is old and incompetent. Because what did Trump do? He kept saying this and stayed out of the limelight, so people couldn't see that. And every time Joe would make a mistake, he'd be like, see, he's old and incompetent. So he just sat there and relayed this point to where people were like, oh my God, he's right. Like, I don't know, man. Like, that it's unfortunately it ends up being that easy. All Trump had to do with Clinton was like relay this point about emails that never happened. And despite it being wrong, despite it being proven wrong, it got proven wrong years later. That doesn't fix the election now or then. That doesn't stop the election. They can't pause the election to wait to hear about this case. He can just sit there and talk about it, and people are going to eat it up because he says it with enough confidence and spark that people are like, damn, he might be right, though. Same with the stolen election shit. He says it with enough intensity and enough emphasis that people are like, you know, maybe it was stolen. You know what I mean? Because nobody's sitting there making sure he doesn't talk out of his ass. Because talking out of his ass is making people listen, unfortunately. Because a lot of people don't want to like think critically. They just want to be told it's going to be okay. And he tells them that in a very radical way. He's not like the coddling parent that's like, let's do this. We're going to do this together. He just sits there and goes, all these people fucking suck. I don't suck. I can make this suck less. Trust me, I'm going to make this suck less. And people are like, okay. He said he's going to make it suck less. That's cool. I want it to suck less. And it's like the DNC is always just like, well, guys, come here. Come here, we can make it suck less too. We'll make it suck less as well. We're going to make it suck a little less too. It's like, but that's not going to, does that really do anything? I feel like we have enough from the last 3 elections to say no. They don't fucking care. Like, part of my point with this TikTok page is multiple times she talks about when asked about policies, because you know what Trump said is she's got no policies. And what sucks is it's a little genius to say that, because the logical response is go to my website, my policies are there, which she said. The problem is even people who were supporting her didn't. I didn't. Most of you didn't. And I doubt anybody considering to vote for Trump over her did. Like, they're just not going to do it. People don't want to put in that effort. It's this constant, say her policy instead of redirecting. She's so terrified of people going after her policies and poking holes in it that she doesn't say them. Because the extra effort to go in and look at the policies, nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to do that research. We live in an era where your phone can give you more information than I could in my lifetime. You can download an AI program and it can give you a whole thesis on a topic faster than you can think of what topic to write about. Whether that's accurate or not is a whole different discussion. You have unlimited knowledge in your pocket at all times, yet nobody does it. Nobody's doing it. Nobody wants to do it. Because that's effort people don't want to put in because people are lazy. It doesn't mean like that's right. People should be smart enough to look into things and figure it out for themselves. But the assumption that every single person is going to think critically and vote critically is just ignorant. But time and time again, that does not happen. And they've lost an election to somebody who's not even a politician because he's helping people not think critically. He is basically telling people, I got it covered. Don't worry about it. And people go, oh, I don't have to worry about it? Hell yeah. That's all it takes. Clearly. That has clearly been all it takes for him to win twice now. And the second time he won was an ass kicking, man. I hate to say it. She got her ass kicked because they went at it at the same way. Where do you guys get your information? Where do you guys get your information? Me. You can say it. Yeah. An influencer you like. Social media. Social media, streamers, TikTok, podcast, name it, any of it. Guess, name a podcast. Name a podcast that is extremely liberal and progressive that is catered towards men. Name one. Catered towards men. A podcast. Joe Rogan. Basement Yard. Guys. But like, politically speaking, not like fun, enjoyable, like lighthearted podcast, joke around, like a political, left-leaning, like progressive sort of podcast about politics or focusing on world events,
Sneak.
cultural
I
events,
wish for all
etc.
Americans here to stay safe and healthy. I
For
love you all, Sneak.
younger men. Is there one? Exactly. That is exactly my point. It's hard to find one. It is hard to find one. You can name 20 influencers and podcasts that cater to right-wing propaganda right now. You don't even watch it, and you know it. You don't even consume that, yet you know Joe Rogan, you know Aiden Ross, you know Andrew Tate. Like, and look at the result. Look at the result. Young men predominantly went to Trump. Because, like, believe it or not, truth or not, and I don't think it's true, they ring this bell of like, you have it so fucking hard, man. We get it. You have it so difficult. Like, you shouldn't have it this hard. And like, everybody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to be validated. Like, culturally, sociologically, psychologically, there are two things people want to hear. They want to hear that they're correct, and they want to hear that they're accepted. And that is exactly what those things are saying to them. And believe it or not, that's what it takes. That's all it takes. Like, that's all it takes for some people. Like, they relay this point of it's hard to be a young man. It's hard to be a upstanding gentleman in those regards, whatever. And people are like, you're so right. That's so true. It is hard. And like, let's be honest. Come on now. This is not, I'm not having a hard time here, guys. Like, I'm smart enough to acknowledge the privilege that I was born into. But look at how vitriolic young people are. Bullying has moved to politics now. Heart and sleeve on your, as a young man, and your peers will tear you to shreds. Yeah, I mean, it's turned into like a sports game, a sports team, a sports division. People view this stuff as if their team just won the fucking Super Bowl, man. I'm telling you right now, that is how men view this right now. That is how young men are viewing politics. Trump winning is like their NFL team won the Super Bowl. That's how it feels for them. And there isn't an equivalent. I mean, like, how can we find like the statistics of like demographically? Yeah, the exit polls. Look at this. Look at this. I'm not saying that this is the end all be all. Look at that. 55% of men went towards Trump. 45% of women. Almost 60% of white people went towards Trump. The only, like, look at that. 85% of black people went to Harris. That's incredible, first of all. That is a shockingly large pool. And I think that's awesome. But like, that's just key states. Guys, whether you like it or not, those battleground states are what matters. It doesn't, like, Arkansas could bleed red for the rest of my fucking life, but at the end of the day, it's like, what, 3 electoral votes? That shit's, my state does not matter at the grand scheme of things when fucking Texas sits with like however many, and California has like 19, and Pennsylvania has like, I don't even know how many. Those are the ones that matter. It does, like, you can look at all of them, and I guarantee you it'd be similar. But I mean, yeah, these are the states that matter, man. It doesn't, like, I get what you're saying, but these are the ones that actually are the change of our nation. You know what I mean? These are the states that actually influence the election. Same as 4 years ago. One of the biggest reasons that Biden won was because Pennsylvania went to him. Barely. There's a reason they're battleground states. There's a reason they're called that. There's a reason they're the most reported on. They take the longest to poll, and they take the longest to result, and they are the most campaigned in, because these have like become states that are so important to securing the presidency that everybody else doesn't fucking matter, man. They're not trying, like, Democrats are not trying to win Texas. Republicans aren't trying to win California. They're going for these. They're going for these. Most of these. I don't know how Texas and Ohio and shit's on here, but like Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. All of those, massively important. Massively important. 57% of white people went to Trump. Like, %60 of white men went to Trump. 53% of white women went to Trump. 55% of Latino men went to Trump. Like, I don't know, guys. Like, it's kind of a wild statistic. %63% of never attending college people voted Trump. Look at that, man. 63%, almost 3/4 of the voters who do not have a higher education went to Trump. Non-college white graduates, 66%. And like, no matter how you voted today, do you usually think yourself as, look at this, Democrat, 95% Democrat, Republican, 5% Democrat. It didn't fucking matter. It doesn't. 94% of Republicans voted Republican anyway. Because that's what people fucking do. Like, I don't know what's going on with the white women vote. I know for a fact that, unfortunately, the white male vote has so much to do with the fact that there is a really clear and knowledgeable right-wing pipeline in social media that's being shoved in their face all the time for this exact reason. This is exactly why. This is exactly why. This is why Russia paid people to do it. This is why people do it, and this is why people grift, etc. Because they're saying things, whether true or not, people want to hear. Like, Jesus, how did I do that? Ugh. Leave me alone. I hate to say it, but I mean, that's exactly it, man. Like, you can't. It's so difficult to find the opposite side of that coin, or any sort of democratic or like progressive liberal ideals or commentary, etc. But even though none of you, maybe some of you, maybe, even though most of you don't even indulge in the right-wing propaganda, in the right-wing social media content, you see it. You know it. You know it. You're fully aware of Joe Rogan. You're fully aware of Tate and Ross and all the other ones. Because you're online and people shove it in your face. And there's not an equivalent, and I don't think the Democrats have figured that out. BTS on? Apparently not. Bots can turn it on if they want. Or is it on and it's just not playing? Hold on. Negativity spreads easier. I 100% agree, and this is what the news has relied on for years, because people watch bad shit. They watch bad shit so people can be like, oh, my shit's not as bad. That's why people consume the news. Like, there's a son and that's it? Yeah, I mean, kind of. There was a... Gosh, let me find it. I think he tweeted it. There was a... Look at this. This is exactly my point here. He tweeted something in reply to a random stat from Stream Charts. Look at this. Top streamers that covered election night. Look. Literally look at this. Right wing. Right wing. Hassan. Right wing. Asmongold. So probably grifting. Right wing. And his song got a lot of coverage. But like, he can't compete with that. Not by himself. He's doing as best as he can. But look at this, bro. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This doesn't even get into podcasts. This is people who covered the election on election day. It's Republicans, whether people want to like it or not, have found a way to cater to the young men in a way that makes them feel like they're extremely valid in feeling misunderstood.
Also seeing so much defeatism, and I'm gonna move on TikTok, but like, a lot of the countries that are suggest are the same state. And some people can't even if they wanted to for safety, and people like me don't want to be. See, we like our home. Please stick together. Keep living. Keep pushing through. Defeatism will get us nowhere.
This is insane, man. This is crazy. And you know, And you know what I hate is that this worked. This worked whether you wanted to or not. I think they did a good job of talking to women this time around. I think Kamala did a great job of talking to them in a way that they needed to hear and wanted to hear, because goddamn, their rights are being taken away, and that's fucked up. But like, how did this happen anyway? How did this happen anyway? How did 45% of white women vote for Trump anyway? Despite him appointing the Supreme Court justices that tore down their abortion rights. This any demographic? The first one is. The first one is just women in general. Anything. 45% of women. 57% of white people. We can go down to just sex by race. 53% of white women. 53% of white women. White men and white women voted more for Trump than anything. Like, all other races was kind of 50-50. And then Latino women and black men and women went towards Kamala. And then white men, white women, Latino men were Trump. This is a staggeringly telling percentage, if you ask me.
Hey guys, Lauren here. I hope everyone is doing as best as they can be during this time. My aunt was sadly one of the many victims to suicide yesterday, and I have been heartbroken over the loss. Even if you feel like giving up, keep loving and keep living.
Ooh,
if you
gosh.
have no reason to live, live out of spite. You can keep going. I believe in you.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Lauren. Holy shit. You got to keep fighting, man. You really do. I agree. Shit is hard, and I get it. But you got to keep going. Otherwise, they win, you know what I mean? Being alive and being present is a direct way to oppose the people who want you dead. You know what I mean? But I'm sorry to hear that, Lauren. That's awful. I don't know, man. Like, you look at these exit polls and I'm
Live
not
out of
confused
spite.
here.
Show them and piss them off with your existence.
I'm a little confused by the Latino men poll, just because I don't really, I'm not from that culture, so I don't really understand the thought process there. But being a white man, I think I understand why they leaned into Trump, and that's because of this pipeline that exists online. And there isn't a competition there. They run the lot when it comes to tricking young men into thinking that they're being like attacked. I mean, yeah. It's because of religion from Latinos, and it said from a Latina. Oh. I guess I could see that. A lot of the culture is tied into religion, right?
During the Great Depression, one of the reasons why it lasted so long as tariffs. Donald Trump mugshot said he's going to put a ton up. He loves the word, apparently wants to fuck it.
So
anyway, hopefully people realize he's not good when the economy falls.
I have a theory. I have a theory that because I was confused by this too. either nobody is telling him he's wrong or he's using the wrong word on purpose. And I could see it either way. My theory is that he's using the wrong word on purpose because what do Republican voters hate more than the Democratic Party? It's not a person. Taxes. Exactly. 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 Because you know what he's describing is putting an import tax. He's describing putting an import tax on international importing. So things not made in America are taxed if people from those countries want to put them in. That's what he's describing. But what he's saying is tariffs, which ultimately lays on the consumer. When a tariff is big, the consumer pays that tax. But he never says tax. He doesn't say the word tax. And I personally think that was intentional. Because whether or not you pay that or
As a
not,
Latino male myself, the Latino men trend is a lot. Have to remember you can't view us as a monolith. Afro-Latinos exist.
can't view anybody like
But
that.
like there is a lot of self-hatred in our communities and assimilating into American culture at any means necessary.
I can see that, man. I can see that. Yeah. That makes sense to me, man. But yeah, I think he purposely laid on the word tariff because he could talk about taxation without saying the word tax. Because Republicans do not like hearing the word taxes. They don't want to hear about them. They don't want to think they're doing them. And if they hear it, they think they're paying it. If they hear tax, they think they're paying for something. I think what he described is an import tax. I think he may have purposely avoided saying such so people didn't get upset. As much as I'd hate to give him credit. And like I said earlier, like that's really all people want to hear. That's all people want to hear. That's all a lot of people want to hear. I'm sure. I mean, you know, plenty of other people know, but he is a con artist and knows how to con. He knows how to say just enough to get people to pay attention and just enough to trick people into investing. He has had a multitude of businesses fail because he has tricked people into giving him tons of money for a business adventure that he has no idea how to upkeep. But every single time, he takes a little bit of that money. He keeps a little bit of that money. I guarantee you all of his donations for his campaign did not go to his campaign. And there are so many people concerned with their wallet and their expenses and their weekly, daily,
I don't mean to add on
monthly
to the
expenses.
fear we are experiencing right now, but if you are a woman, I highly
That's all they
recommend
wanna know.
looking into self-defense classes. Jiu-Jitsu and Krav Maga are great ones, but something as small as learning to use a bat correctly will also help a lot.
Harris had 3 times as much money. Yeah. She made historic donations the day she announced her campaign. That's what's crazy. I don't even know where it went. She had a much better ground game. Got a much bigger donation pool, and it still doesn't matter, man. Because ultimately, I mean, just look at that. You just, I don't know, man. I mean, this is hindsight bias at the end of the day, I guess, but it's because she was backed by the 1%, buddy. Whether that's true or not, Trump's number one supporter was Elon Musk. Where do you think he lies?
On another note, hate has been so normalized to such an extreme
Both of
point
them.
among young men
Both of
that
them
are catered
realistically
to by
probably were,
Republicans is
man.
very, very concerning. And the rising violence does not help their case whatsoever. But to everyone affected by it, like myself
Like, you
as a
can't
woman,
say that she was
most
funded by the
especially on social
1%
media,
while
remember
Elon
it is not
bought
our lesson
a
to
website
learn.
for
We stay
billions
strong.
and
To chat,
billions
you are
of
loved,
dollars
you are smart, and you most
just
definitely
to
have the right to
put
live on
out
out of
propaganda
spite.
for him. You can't say it was just her. It could be her, but there's just, he did the same thing.
One more month.
And I doubt the 1% went towards her because they're being threatened by Democrats to be heavily taxed every single election period. That's why they love Trump, because he says, I won't do that. In fact, I'll make it better for you. You're just, I'm sorry, but that's just flat out not true, man. All of his tax cuts helped people way beyond anybody's payroll.
I remember seeing someone ask if Trump said Kamala wanted trans operations done on immigrants was because she said she fought against transnational gangs, and he just didn't know what those were. Being that stupid is a talent.
Like Facebook didn't. We had to buy a company. They already had all the others. Dude. Have you logged onto Facebook this decade? Are you good? Facebook is not anything but pro-Republican, man. You can't go on there without your 50-year-old aunt loving the fact that Trump won. This is a crazy argument.
A lot of the white vote comes from the poorest white man is richer than the most powerful black man from the Jim Crow era. It's that same level of thinking.
Wait, a lot of white votes come from the poorest white. Yeah. Nothing but true there, man. It's dumb. It's fucked up and it's dumb. This is unfortunately what is happening, is white men and women are being told that they are going to get eaten alive, exaggeration or not, and they believe it. Because they are being fed constant reiteration of that topic and that point. Men more than women. White men are being constantly told by right-wing influence, right-wing podcasts, all these people that they are going to get kicked down into the bottom of the barrel. They're going to get stepped on and pushed down and drowned, etc. Absolutely. They are being fed this despite the truth or not. And you see it in these results. 60% of white men voted Trump. It's not even close. That's a terrible disparity. It's not even 50-50. Even 50-50 would have been okay. Easily lost it. There's nobody. They're not combating this sort of thing. There's no punishment for misinformation. There's no combativeness against There's
Isn't
no
it proven that
equivalent.
57% of American adults literacy at a 6th grade level?
I could see
Even
it.
more so, but many people are very uneducated.
I could see it, man. Trump and Elon will have a falling out. It's inevitable. Oh, fuck yeah, man. Two narcissists trying to hang out with each other. That's the whole thing is Trump removed so much of his cabinet so fast. Like year one, he fired tons of his people. I don't think people remember how like rampant he went, like removing and rehiring people. Like RFK Jr. is going to piss him off once, and that guy's going to never see the light of day again. That guy's going to become a worm. Like it, I really don't think people remember how like volatile Trump was. They're thinking he's, I mean, like, I hope not. I hope he doesn't show up and enact everything. Don't misuse terminology. Someone else just, okay, but we've had this discussion before because that is used a lot in
Not
true
to
crime.
change the subject a little, but did you see the thing about the guy that stuck his phone in Jason Kelsey's face and asked how he felt about Travis being an F-slur for dating Taylor Swift? Jason smashed his phone on the ground and turned it around on him, and they made him apologize. I personally think he should have laid the guy out. BC, how you think you can talk to a 6'2" Eagles football player like you do to people online without consequences?
Wild. I get what you're saying, Spice, but this has happened, this discussion and point has been made during like a true crime stream or two. And there's a stipulation. This isn't the discussion of NPD. This is this discussion of narcissism. Like, unfortunately, they share a similar...
No matter what happens, stick to your people. Get involved in your community. Form connections and help each other. We're united in this now. We can't leave each other behind because of fear. Turn that fear into rage. And use that to fight.
Narcissism is NPD?
We got
yes,
this.
but what I'm trying to tell you is people behave narcissistically, not necessarily like it can exist. Oh, fuck, I forgot. God damn. Like, yes, there is an amount, in a way, people like, god damn. I said this in a way that made sense, and I don't remember how I said it, and I'm having a hard time. But we have talked about this sort of thing, and the understanding is that I'm not talking about that sort of thing. You can behave and have narcissistic tendencies without having NPD. Narcissism exists in somebody with NPD, but somebody who is narcissistic.
What are your thoughts on Trump giving healthcare control fully to RFKJ? There's a video I saw yesterday of Bernie Sanders talking about Republicans using decisive topics to divide the population, and the Democrats moving away from topics that the majority of people are on board with, such as Medicare for all. This was in 2003.
Yup. I want to reiterate that I understand your point. You're saying that there are other ways to describe somebody as being an asshole, but That's not what I'm saying at the same time. I'm not using that word to call them an asshole. They behave in a way and act in a way that is narcissistic. I'm not using that as a synonym for asshole. That is the behavior that they exhibit. And that is not to describe them as NPD. The behavior can exist without necessarily labeling it to what you're defending. People can act that way and behave predominantly that way without necessarily having it in a way that they can't help. I understand what you're saying. You're saying people with NPD cannot do something about it. They have it's a mental condition that causes them to think and behave in a way that is that way. But people can behave that way through like a non-genetic reason. People can become that way and grow up that way and make choices that reiterate and reinforce wanting to act like that. I understand that you were just being very considerate and interpreting what I'm saying as like trying to call them assholes in a different way, but that's not what I'm calling them. I mean, despite them also being that. They both display extreme narcissistic qualities. They love themselves. They aren't wrong. They can't lose. They cannot accept losing. If they lose, it's not on them. It's someone else's fault. Volatile, like unable to listen, never wrong, so about themselves, thinks everybody loves them, does not get that, is confused by how people don't. Like, I get what you're saying. I think ultimately I understand what you're saying. But I think it's fair to assume that that's not, I think it is fair for you to assume that that's not, I'm not going after somebody like that. I'm not attacking somebody or labeling somebody as with NPD as similar or equatable. I don't like to assume as much is to assume that would make me just as bad. To put people into the same group who share similarities is just as bad as doing it in any other regard. There's a distinction, and I think your point was that you can say it differently, but I'm not saying it differently. I'm saying that their behavior is narcissistic, not necessarily due to a condition that they have or had or were born with, but through the choices they have made over time, that their entire life is rotating around themselves, and it's more about them than anything, and no matter what, it's about them. But that is not because of a condition. That is a learned behavior that they have done. They've both figured out this learned behavior that works for them in a way that makes them feel very, very good. Either way, my point is both of them think they're the shit at the end of the day. They both think that they're so fucking amazing and smart that nobody else matters, nobody else needs to be heard, nobody else has the same idea, nobody else is correct, nobody knows what they're talking about. When two people like that go into a room, shit goes down. shit goes down if not already. I guarantee you they're both cooperating with each other out of self-interest. Excuse me. What essentially has started is a time bomb, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying nothing will get done because the Republican Party controls actually the whole governmental branches in general, all of them, which is terrifying. But putting two of the most self-centered people side by side is going to make things very interesting. And you know what? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is up there as well, if you ask me. Bro was all about running by himself until Trump promised him a cabinet position. Then he was like, this guy rules. If that ain't self-interest, I don't know what it is. In fact, he did it so late. And he did it so late that he was still on the ballot for some states because he took too long to pull out of the race. You know what I mean? You got three people who love themselves strictly and only wanting to hang out and work with each other. I feel like it's like the cupcake stage of a relationship, man. Like everything is fine and dandy, and then you get in your first argument and you're like, oh shit. Oh shit, I gotta have a discussion. Like we gotta talk about it. You know what I mean? I think it's a time bomb, personally. I mean, maybe that's just optimism. I think the first contentious point they have, he kicks their ass out. Unless he has no choice. Elon's clinging on to him for dear life because he owes billions of dollars to other countries who wanted to pay for Twitter so he would use it as a pipeline to propagandize America as a way to poison us from the inside. We live in a Cold War era, but it's not about nuclear threat. It's about, can we make an Ora Bora out of the United States? And it's happening. The snake is eating itself. I don't know, man. I feel like we're getting a little jumping around topics, but I feel like I'm making sense.
We live in a Cold War era and Russia has won.
I think ultimately, like, once again, I think white men are being told to be scared. And there's not a whole lot of people out there being like, it's fine. We're good. Think about the amount of things you don't think about because you're good. You know what I mean? So a lot of these right-wing propagandized content creators and podcasts are relaying these points onto white men, telling them that they're going to get, like, they're going to get taken, they're going to get shit on, they're going to get put away. Like, you should be terrified of anybody who's not you because they all hate you and they're going to get you. And you should fight it. Yeah, I agree, Rod. It's exactly what, like, Jim Crow laws were built around. Is this idea
Thinking about the right's fear of
that
communists, but then I remember I saw a shirt that said they'd rather be Russian than a Democrat.
That's crazy. You're exactly right, Rod. It's similar to the Jim Crow rhetoric when Jim Crow laws came into effect. Jim Crow ran around telling people that, like, the freedom of black people was going to bring about the end of white men because all they want is to just take them out, which is just not true. Absolutely not true. Most people just want to live and be left alone, which they totally deserve. But being told that you're going to get attacked or your safety and your peace is going to be disrupted because all these other people don't like the fact that you have it and they don't, etc., starts to like stick to people if they're told it 20, 50, 100 times over in a month. And when some of the most influential people are saying these points, a lot of people see it. And it circulates and is discussed and is brought up, and people who aren't as educated or aren't relaying the same point as accurately
thus
continue to discuss
continues
it.
To repeat itself.
And people misinformation flows around, disinformation, all sorts of random propaganda that aren't actually the truth get spread to everybody who needs to hear it, but even if it's not necessarily accurately said or the truth. Trump's going to fix the economy. Oh, he said that? Yeah. Well, he didn't really say that. He didn't say he was going to fix the economy. He said that he was going to create tariffs and make companies pay more, which isn't a tariff, by the way. But that's what he said. He didn't really say he's going to fix the economy. He just kind of said he's going to make companies pay. It's the same as like when he ran in 2016 and was like, I'm going to make Mexico pay for the wall. I'm going to fix your biggest concern and not make you pay for it. He literally rebranded his exact position his first election run. A big concern in 2016 was immigration. He said, I'm going to build a huge wall and we don't pay for it. And people were like, whoa, okay, cook. Did that happen? Hell no.
My Trump-thumping uncle keeps texting my sisters about how if he thought Trump was a bad person who wanted to take rights away, he would not have voted for him. So my sister sent him a bunch of Trump clips of him being racist, sexist, homophobic and transphobic, etc. He responded with a Fox News article praising Trump. What a dumbass.
Trump thumping. Oof. Like, that's crazy, man. He literally rehashed his exact position and point and strategy of 2016. But instead of immigration, which was the huge topic then, he went for the economy, which is the huge topic now. And he went, I'm going to have you save money and you don't have to pay for it. He did the exact thing. He did the same thing. He, like him or his campaign team, whatever, figured out the biggest concern for his biggest pool of voters, which was the economy. My money, my expenditures, my day-to-day, my mortgage, my groceries, etc. And he goes up there and says, well, I can fix that and you don't have to worry about it. Who doesn't want to hear that? Who doesn't want to hear that, man? Like, I'm not saying he's saying it in the correct way, nor is he saying it in a way that's appropriate or accurate or going to happen, but he says it in a way that convinces people that he's got it covered. And that's the thing. He is so good at like tricking people.
Hey, is this whole stream going to be this, or are we doing anything else /gen/nm?
I don't know. What are people's thoughts? Are we having a good time? I mean, no, but is this like enjoyable-ish? Do I actually see Kamala as far left? No,
Hey freaks,
not at all.
I
She's
don't
closer
talk
to
much
Republican
in
than
chat,
anything.
but I hope everyone can stay strong. Organize, help each other, build and support local community.
Fixing
You are a
immigration,
wonderful
lowering
bunch and you have
taxes,
to keep on
etc.
going.
is all
I'm praying for each and
Republican
every one of
focal
you.
points. Like fixing immigration,
That makes total sense if you
fixing
see how
taxing,
pissy
fixing
Republicans
groceries,
get over
etc.
taxes being
That's
used for free food
like
for school
that's
children, like as long as whatever's
tons
going
of
on
stuff
doesn't
Republicans
seem to
have leaned
affect them,
on
they're
for
all
years.
for it.
She's not even close to left, bro. She is central and she's leaning towards the right side. And that was her whole strategy, was to try to appeal to some of the right side and get them to come over. And I mean, once again, look at these exit polls of the battleground states. Where did that get her? Absolutely nowhere. No matter how you voted today, what do you think yourself as? 95% of both sides voted for their side. It didn't matter. Because at the end of the day, anybody who sees themselves as Democratic votes Democratic and Republicans vote Republican at the end of the day. That is basic psychology. That is like literally definition of in-group, out-group bias. If you are in a group, the outer group is inferior for whatever reason you come up with to make yourself feel better. It is literally
enjoyable
Psych
and very
101.
informative, especially as someone outside the US trying to understand and remain informed.
That's great, man. I don't know. I kind of enjoy it sometimes. I enjoy discussing this stuff because I feel like I have thoughts. And I don't know if people are considering them or talking about it in the same way or in the same angle. I truly think young men influenced this election in a much bigger way than people expected. And I think it has a lot to do with my exact points of there being an absurd amount of right-wing pipeline content creation. And not only is that beneficial to the Republican Party, they have seen that. They noticed it, and they have bought people into doing it. People are bought and are buying in to spitting this rhetoric because it gives them money. And it's made a whole generation of people of my age and like gender, etc., believe these points because there's so many people saying it. Because it's not something for one person to say something, but if you hear something from multiple people, you consider that it might be the truth. You can be convinced by one person if they make valid enough points, but if you start to hear other people say the same thing, you kind of start to go, wait a minute, why is everybody saying that? Is that true? You go, I've heard this before. Where have I heard this before? I could have sworn I heard this the other day because it's being reiterated to them over and over and over and over and over. And there's not like there's nothing that stops them from doing that. And I don't think now they're not going to have any way to do anything about it. But they can't create laws or punish those who are doing it. But I think it's stupid and ignorant to not create a system to combat it themselves. And I refer to the Democratic Party here. I think it's a waste of resources to have been so present on TikTok on multiple pages.
We worked with our local district rep and got her back into office. The Dems behind her focused on TV ads, and then targeting the right. It only worked for her because it's small scale, while Kamala was larger. I truly cannot see it working for a national election, which has pretty much been proven.
Yep. Excuse me.
Hi freaks, and Sneak Plus family. I hope you know people are here for you, and as a whole, the chatters are here for you. Love
Thanks, man.
to everyone in chat less than 3.
look how toxic the landscape is. If you put your neck out there, the hate machine is so soul crushing. You do that as a living. I don't know. Exactly. I mean, also 100%. Look at Hassan, man. Hassan says one thing and 20 YouTube channels are shitting on him by either somehow twisting it or taking it out of context or being like, well, he's got a $20 billion house or whatever the fuck. He doesn't even care. It's like he's just existing. Not a lot of people want to deal with that. And not a lot of people are trying to help out because of that exact problem. Is there's such a force behind this right-wing like machine online that anybody who tries, they just absolutely carpet bomb them with slander. I totally agree. I gotta use the bathroom real quick. One sec. All right. I don't know, man. I think it's really dumb. I think it's really dumb because you know what ultimately needs to happen? Is oh, I hate that this is probably true. Is that men need to be like coddled on the online space and told that they're okay. Because they clearly don't think so. And I hate it. I hate that so much. But like, look at it. Look at what's going on, man. So many young men think that they're like being like absolutely shit on in the streets, no matter the situation. And it's like, I mean, I'm not saying to, you know, I don't know. I just think that like, I think it's unfortunately in a way true. I go back to all these statistics, man, of this exit poll. This exit poll is so telling. Like, men in general swayed this election because a ton of men at this point who can vote are online and being told it's not okay. Older men are on Facebook, younger men are on TikTok or on podcasts or on streams. Like, a majority of men are being fed this echo chamber that like they're being attacked and they're being absolutely like pushed down and drowned and there's no way out and they have to fight. And it's like, what do you do about that? There's there's just got to be a way to I mean, not even coddle them, but not necessarily like, I don't know. How do you convince people that they're going to be okay without doing exactly what Kamala's campaign did and just cater towards the right and basically do nothing? It's hard to think about.
Have you seen all the posts of women being like, my partner voted for Trump and I broke up with him? And men are all like, why is dating so hard, guys? Like, why do you think?
Crazy. I don't know, man. It's really dumb. Like, right-wing influence has created a generation of young men who are convinced and self-conscious about their position of the world, despite being on top, just based on sociological, like, how shit is, unfortunately. Like, they literally think that they are at risk because that is what's being told to them over and over and over. And nobody is out there telling them it'll be okay.
The minorities that voted Trump. There was a lesbian married couple on TikTok bragging about voting Trump because they hate immigrants. Don't they realize they're up next?
My gosh. It is extremely typical of a white guy to find something to be upset over. Because their life is so easy, or they have nothing happening, that they're so confused that they need to find something that's coming after them. And they're being told over and over that something's coming after them. Not by one person, but by a ton of people. And so they just get told this over and over, and then they believe it.
My dad has 2 trans kids, and no matter how much I tried to convince him, he voted for Trump. BC the economy. In a swing state.
Man. Like, I don't know, man. Do I just like go out there and make a guy podcast and tell them we're good to go? How do you reiterate that point? How do you go after that point? It's really difficult. It's hard to tell somebody who's playing the victim that they have it easy. Take one with Joe. I saw Joe's TikTok about people treating it like sports teams. We should do that. Joe has great political insight. That's what we should do with that podcast. We should just do that exact thing, man. Like, it's like this, bro. Like, I mean, people are aware of like the beach of Normandy, right? Like in World War II, like when American soldiers stormed Normandy Beach and it was like a hellscape, right? People know what that is, what that situation was. It's been interpreted in games, etc., right? It is like a man gets online and it's like this is not real, by the way. This is what I'm interpreting and thinking is the
In a
problem.
stunning turn of events, turns out we need more white men with a podcast.
Dude, I hate to say it, but you might be right. Because who do white men listen to, man? Guys, who does a white man listen to? Let's just call a spade, man. I hate it, but it's true. Their dad, white men, they listen to other white men. If not just men in general, but you know what I mean? White men and porn stars. White men and that one OnlyFans person they can't get over. Trump won men of color? No, he didn't, man. He won the male Latino vote. You can see it on the fucking screen, bro. It's literally on the fucking screen. Quit rage baiting.
We need
You're making a
white
fool
men
of
who are
yourself.
on our side to make moves. That's who they will listen to. As much as they pretend to not be into men, most of what they do is for other men's approval.
Yeah. Like, it's the way that they make them feel. This is the way that, like, this right-wing pipeline of content makes men feel. It's literally like they're getting off at the beach of Normandy and being told they're being bombed and they have to get in the trenches and push. Like, that's what it goes in my head when I think about, like, when I try, because I don't feel this way, because that's utter nonsense, because I was raised better and learned and grew. And, like, that is what men are being basically told. That they're, like, at a war and it's bad and it's getting terrible and they have to fight and they have to push and they have to go. And it's like, there's nothing else. There's nothing else for them out there. I mean, nothing as big of a workforce, that is. And it's like, I mean, literally, it's like they just need another white guy with a podcast, like, giving out high fives instead. Being like, fuck yeah, man, we're good. Let's do this shit. It's chill. Like, it's like they literally need a guy who will sit down on the couch with them and crack a beer and watch a sporting game while being like, fuck yeah. It's like they literally just need a dude to sit down with them and have a beer and go, fuck yeah. We choose you, I'm sorry. Fuck. Shit. Part of me kind of feels like I'm the first person to think of this, but I doubt it, because if I thought about it, someone else did. That's just how logic works. I feel like I might be one of the few people that is even considering this. I mean, I quite literally think that Kamala's campaign needed to deploy Tim Walz all over the place. Because he is the exact kind of chill, Midwestern white dad that
to be
people
working so hard for male approval they'll never get.
Or that people want. They did not do that. They did not deploy their white man. They just appointed a white man for VP and went, dude, we got a white guy, and thought people would clap. And now I'm not saying that that's important, but you look at the disparity here, and white people leaned Republican by a mile. They did when he won last time. Like, I don't know, man. thought you saw him everywhere. You might have seen him everywhere, but what was he predominantly doing?
These white men just need a gay date just so they can be happy.
Yeah, they literally want, like, quite literally, like, they want a bromance. But that's in a way, that is how these types of content make them feel. The solution to male loneliness is yaoi. Yaoi without the sexual nature to it. Unless they want that. Like, literally, a ton of men just want to have another dude that can sit with them and have a beer and watch the same sport and be like, W. Or play the same game and be like, fuck these guys. I hate to say it, but, like, as a male, it's fun to be on, like, I play RuneScape. You know what's great? Having RuneScape buddies that I can be like, what
Hey,
are you
Sneak.
fucking doing?
My cat has something to say about the 2024 election. Meow, meow, meow,
Oh my God.
meow, 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 meow. I am a cat and don't understand a dang thing about this stuff. Meow, 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 meow.
You're getting too
meow,
political, bro.
Meow, 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 meow.
Yeah.
As someone whose dad has a dad boyfriend that they smoke different kinds of meat and share it with each other, all dads need a dad boyfriend.
I'm telling you right now, dude. Yep. Like, if we're talking like the straightest male you can think of, they want a bromance. Yeah. Absolutely.
Not like sending Vals to Joe Rogan would have won them the election, but the fact that they didn't send him out but instead sent out Fetterman, the guy who had a stroke and the right went after for his speaking abilities, and has went further right since.
I absolutely think Tim Walz should have been on Joe Rogan. He should have been on as many of those as they wanted him on. Like, if all of those right-wing podcasts wanted him to join, they should have absolutely done it. They already drug his name in the mud. They were already slandering him. They're not going to make it worse.
The right is validating these men's fears and feelings, providing easy answers.
His calm and
sway
charming
them to the
demeanor.
other side, you need to do the same thing and introduce progressive values very slowly. At least that's what I think would maybe work, but it would be slow.
His calm and fatherly demeanor could have absolutely convinced people. And the problem is most young men are in those scary avenues. I do not think the Democratic Party wants to take the dive and go after young men. And I think it made a huge difference here. I think they had the perfect opportunity with Tim Walz. That man is much of it. That is a Midwestern dad to a T. I cannot think of a more Midwestern dad than someone like him. Like a dude who coached football, who gives a shit about his family to a fault, bro. Like, you cannot think of a more Midwestern dad.
Hey chat, what if we caused a human version of what happened to the garbage dump troop baboons in Kenya back in the 80s?
Like, they absolutely squandered him. I hope he gets another chance at something. Like, there is a stupid truth to people being like, you don't want a girlfriend, you want a boyfriend, when men describe like their ideal woman. And it's not necessarily that they want a boyfriend, they want a bromance. These two things can be they can be mutually exclusive. They don't necessarily need to exist from that. But yeah,
not entirely related, but I remember as a kid my dad getting disproportionately mad at Disney shows for portraying the dads as kind of silly and dopey. Meanwhile my sister and I would watch it and be like, man, I wish our dad was like that and not so angry.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's silly. And I don't want anybody to think that like I'm trying to play victim or think I'm the victim or white men are a victim. We're not. But it's being emphasized that we are. And they're buying it. Like, they're being told enough times that they are, that it's convincing. And nobody's doing anything to combat otherwise. You know what I mean?
Rot is on a roll in chat talking about intersectionality. We can't leave anyone behind. From personal experience,
I agree.
I'm intersex, found out kinda recently, and people forget we exist. We can't leave disabled people behind. They literally don't have marriage rights because of how disability benefits work.
You can't leave anybody. Absolutely. Magnets are broken.
In a stunning turn of events, after blaming women for having daddy issues, it is in fact the white man that has daddy issues.
It's projection, man. I totally get you. As a guy who has his own mental health problems,
these white men
goes to therapy and
Bluey.
has done his best to grow as a person through therapy, you are correct. Half of these arguments that misogynistic men make about women, half of the racist rhetoric, most of the racist rhetoric, and also, if not most of the misogyny, is projection. Because they are being told so many things about, like, they're basically being told to be self-conscious. They're being tricked into freaking out and into being unconfident. And people don't take that well. It goes back to this psychological thing I said, where people want to be loved and they want to be correct, they want to be accepted. And when you're basically being told over and over that that's not happening, you get defensive.
You have to
and
treat
you get
them
scared.
like a woman I saw in a TV show who wanted a new oven. It was set in like maybe the 60s, and when she said she wanted an oven, he said no, and she reworded it where a friend of hers husband got her a new oven. How nice was that, to where he thought it was his idea. BC, he wanted to be better, and he even threw in other appliances.
It's fascinating, man. We're growing as a society where other people than just men are becoming a priority, which should exist. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
About the garbage dump troop baboons. In a garbage dump near a tourist lodge in Kenya, the stronger and more aggressive males fought for food, eventually dying from bovine tuberculosis. This left mostly female baboons to teach the younger baboons to be less aggressive.
Fascinating. Yeah. I mean, we're living in a time where, like, other people than just men and just white men are being considered appropriately or being given things that they deserve, right? And that should happen. Absolutely. It should be completely side by side, totally equally, because people deserve to have the same things. Doesn't matter what you are, anything. Like, but that creates this creates a discussion where, technically, in a way, and once again, I say this from the perspective of analyzing and thinking in the shoes of that propaganda machine, right? They use that. That is a weapon, because they don't talk about men then. And they use that. They go, well, they don't fucking care about you. They're not even talking about you. They're actually talking about making you lesser by bringing all these other people up. They're trying to get rid of you, man. They're not even talking about you. You know what I mean? Like, they weaponize it. They weaponize this fight for equality that deserves to exist by tricking men into thinking that, like, their well-being is under threat, when all people are trying to do is pull everybody up to the same spot, which has plenty of space. And I genuinely think that they have been totally ignored, and this is the result. They, like, much like you guys said earlier about, like, intersex and other people, everybody needs to be considered. Everybody. And I think, like, I hate saying it, but clearly off of this exit poll, like, men, and especially white men, have been ignored to a point where they feel like they're being threatened or feel like they're not being heard. And they go online and get fed these things and these creators and these podcasts that are telling them these things and reiterating these points so many times that they think about it and they go, whoa, this could be right. This could be so true. I think this is happening. But ultimately, once again, all people are trying to do is pull each other up to the same spot. You know what I mean? Because there's plenty of space. There's plenty of opportunity. Everybody deserves to be together on the same level with the same opportunity. Everybody. But they're being fed that because other people are trying to get up there, they're going to get knocked off. And nobody's really telling them that there's space for everybody. Nobody's telling them that it isn't like one person on top. Everybody can be there. We can all hang out. I don't know. I hope it makes sense. I mean, I'm not trying to say that, like, woe is me. I don't think my life is hard at all. I think there are men out there whose life isn't hard and they have plenty of time to kill and do whatever and indulge in social media, and tons of social media catered towards young men scream at them that they're at war, and they believe it.
I keep going on about intersectionalism, but it also means including those that hate you and everything you are and stand for, and so many people have such a hard time getting through that fact, which is understandable, but all means all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's, yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know the solution here, but I think it's ridiculously stupid that it's possibly that men need to be literally like, maybe they just need a fucking hug, bro. You ever get a hug when you need it? That shit hits so fucking hard. Some people just don't have somebody that can give them a hug and tell them they're gonna be fine. You know what I mean? And that sucks. I imagine that would suck. I have been lucky enough to have that mostly and basically my whole life. Like, I truly believe men are being isolated on purpose for this exact reason. You once again look at the you just look at these exit polls, man. That's all my brain thinks. That's what is screaming. That's what's screaming in my head is how did that even happen? Especially to young men, especially towards younger men. You think people in our generation would understand and care and want better for people around them?
I have a male friend back at my home country always saying he needs a hug because these times are tough, so it's sad that's true.
They're being told that they are alone and nobody understands and they have to fight. People are making money off of white men rage and it's very toxic for everyone. Exactly. Absolutely. Like I said, they're being told that they're at war and they have to like start shooting back, and they're being told it so much that they're like, holy shit, I guess we are. Despite no gunshots being fired at them, etc. Okay. I don't know, man. Maybe I should podcast it. How do you cater to a white guy without, I don't know. Sports. I don't know, man. I think there's a vacuum there, dude. I truly do. This isn't me like feeling victimized. This is me seeing the purposeful victimization. And
you are a white guy. It's your destiny to podcast.
I don't know. Seeing this exit poll has really like stirred some feelings in me, for sure. And all my brain wants to do is pick it apart. It sucks. It really does suck because ultimately a lot of people have it much harder and have to think about much worse and much more realistic things.
The thing about intersectionality is that you don't have to actively be kind to those that hate you, but you can want a kinder existence for them, and you don't have to give them an inch of your mind or heart. It's such a hard thing to understand, I know.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's this, there's a kind of anxiety, and I might be calling people out, so I'm sorry for this. There's a kind of anxiety in people, and I know people in my life that do this, and I have a hard time fighting this, where they don't get help. They don't ask for it.
Sorry, Speed Blast streamer Stinkies man. I was holding it in and I really had to go.
It's cool. I'm just cooking here and you're just peeing everywhere. I guess that's fine. I'm gonna lose my train of thought. Fuck. What was I talking about? Quick. Okay. There's a way that anxiety works, in the sense that people will fall on a sword if it means not feeling like they're being a problem. I view it as falling on the sword. It's not like somebody else stabs you. It's like you see the opportunity to take the stab for somebody instead, right?
I'm gonna say this knowing I'm gonna get shot. Don't forget Caitlyn Jenner is trans and is very excited about Trump winning. No one is immune from being a piece of shit. Support everyone, but hold everyone to a better standard too.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's because she's got money. She wants to keep it. Absolutely. But it's an anxiety mechanic. And I'm a person who does it. Not as much as I used to. But whatever is genetically predispositioned in me and where my anxiety stems from causes me to have this need to sacrifice myself first and make like carry the world. You know what I mean? This idea that like the weight is, I can put the weight on my shoulders every single time, so I should do that to make other people be okay.
Sorry
without
for
them even knowing.
and I might be yapping too much. This might be extremely off topic and I apologize if this doesn't make sense, cause I'm just gonna yap. But have you seen the amount young men commenting your body my choice and also starting to talk about women being property are suddenly confused about the 4B movement starting?
I have
like
seen
your
that.
actions have literally caused what's happening right now. But given what they are taught and what they see online and what they are told, not all. Yes, I know.
I mean, you emphasize a point that I've been making, where they're being told all sorts of things, despite that not being the truth, but that's what's predominantly catered to them, because there's forces pushing that, and nobody else is pushing anything else. Um, yeah. Like, but to go back towards my point with this falling on the sword. This happens a lot. And this is a very common form of self-sacrifice that men do. Because it is emphasized to men to sack up, pull the bootstraps up, and just and work, and to push, and to move on. There's no time for this like vulnerability or asking for help or weakness, because you have to go. We have to keep going. It is what it is. Exactly. It is such a common, like, let me take this stab wound really quick so we can move on. Exactly. It is very hard for men to ask for help, because the stereotypes of men in society emphasize this need to carry on despite the circumstance. And that bleeds into everything. So there's a lot of men out there who just take on and pick up and carry everything, but do not have the willingness nor the outlet to let it go. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense for anybody who's not male. I'm sorry if this hits too close to home to anybody who is male. But this is something that I understand, that I have a hard time
As someone
with.
with severe anxiety and OCD, defeatism is not the way to go. Doomscrolling is not the way to go. Yes, you grieve. But you pick yourself back up and continue going. Do not allow people to pull you into their fear-mongering. There will be a lot of misinformation spread and lots of extreme jumps from hope into defeat. Do not let it get you. We will do this. Doc Air.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, y'all get it most of the way.
Hey Sneeg, I had a really long conversation with a friend today about how he doesn't really want to be involved in politics. He's not interested in learning at all and is focused on his life. He's a cis male and I'm non-binary. I'm not sure what to do at this point.
Yeah. You just really bring up the points I make, where it's like there's not a problem for men most of the way in society. Therefore, this right-wing echo chamber has been created to feed them a problem. So the patriarchy has made it this. Well, wow, the patriarchy. But that is what it is. The patriarchal system that exists has created such a bliss for a male that a false narrative has been deliberately created.
I wrote way too long paragraph and it got cut off, but basically my point is most young men are not being properly talked to or listened to by peers, and they can only go off what they learn online from other people that they look up. The whole thing that you just talked about, some younger men feeling like they've been backed into a corner or threatened, was exactly the point that I wanted to bring up.
Absolutely. It is a privilege. I love what you said here, Buff. It's a privilege to not be political. Absolutely. That's a great way to bring it up to them. Like the fact that he has the choice of being unpolitical is crazy. The fact that I could technically be unpolitical is crazy. The way that I could have voted for either candidate and my life wouldn't have changed is a problem. Yeah.
Piggybacking off of what Hood said. If you ever feel like doing anything drastic, remember that you have to outlive Donald Trump. You have to survive and piss on his grave. It's the rule now. We're all
he's
in
gonna be
this
buried
together.
in an unmarked grave.
We'll be okay.
No, there's no
you
way.
have to have hope.
There's no way that he gets buried in an unmarked grave. He loves himself too much. He's gonna be put in a fucking gold coffin, like in a public shrine, bro. And people are gonna jerk off about him like they do Ronald Reagan. That's what sucks, bro, is he's literally modern Ronald Reagan. There's gonna be people wearing Trump shirts when we're all 60, 70 years old. Some 40-year-old guy is going to be running around with a Trump shirt because he was 5 and his parents loved the fact that he was president. And they're going to be like, well, my parents said he was good. Despite creating things that made the worst things to happen in this country. That's what I think about it a lot. I think about this a lot. I think about the fact that he's literally Reagan. Wild. I don't know, man. I like this discussion. It's fun. It's fun to like...
The problem is that the kind of use American nationalism that is like 4th of July sports games, pep rallies is fun.
So
the
fun.
mashed up photos of flags and eagles and shit is fun.
It is so
and it's been
fun.
ruined for years BC of these fucking bitches.
Like, nothing is more electric than going to your team's game and watching them kick ass, dude. It is so fun. I had season tickets to the St. Louis Blues one year. It was amazing. I miss it so much. Because nothing was more fun than my wife and I going 10 minutes up the highway, going to our seats where the servers knew us and loved us, where we had free food and alcohol the whole time, and got to scream about competition and cheer whenever it was going our way. It's electric. It's hard to artificially make that. Free? Yeah, because of the section we were in. It was like, I mean, it wasn't like quality food. It was like, it's like the kind of food you would expect at like a local baseball stadium, not like a professional one, like a concession stand. But it was free, so it tasted great. You just can't make that. You can't fake that. You can't fake how it feels to be at a playoff game and watch it. I've been to many. I still think about them. I was in grade school when the Cardinals beat the Dodgers in the National League Championship Series, and I still think about it. I remember us being there.
Free food is always great.
Everybody knowing that Michael Wacha was going to get the MVP, and people were chanting his name before it was even announced. Everybody just knew he was going to get it. Like, I remember being at that game. I remember it. I still do. I still remember it. I remember watching the Blues knock out the Minnesota Wild in 2020. I remember being at one of the games. I don't think I wasn't at the knockout game, but I was at like game 1 or 2. I can't remember. And Talbot was a rookie goalie for the Minnesota Wild, and it was his first playoff game. We beat their shit in so many times. It actually might have been the advancing game because we had shit on their main goalie.
Haha, so many people conflate patriotism and nationalism.
And the coach for the Wild put in Talbot for his first playoff game, and it was an elimination game. And guess what happened? The whole game, everybody kept chanting his name and taunting him. The whole stadium would be going, Talbot, Talbot, Talbot. This was 4 years ago, and I still think about it. I still live to have something like that again. I remember being at a bar in 2019, Game 7, Blues, Boston Bruins at Boston, and watching us win the Stanley Cup, and I cried. I remember crying. I remember being so fucking ecstatic. Like,
my favorite part about the 4th of July was spending time with my family and setting off fireworks. But it's been ruined because all they do nowadays is talk about politics and their precious Oompa Loompa and how much they'd like to get rid of people like me that I don't want to even go anymore.
That is such a bonding experience for especially men. And it sucks that a lot of nationalistic pride has been put into this, like, oh, so you're a Trump head. You know what I mean? Fuck that, man. I love my sports.
For anyone in chat that needs words of encouragement, these lyrics have been helping me. Hold on to hope if you got it. Don't let it go for nobody. They say that dreaming is free. But I wouldn't care what it cost me. Like I'm obsessed with songs like Courtesy of the Red, White and Blue. The battle hymns like Yankee Doodle. Songs like Sweet Caroline at pep rallies. And I have to continue to remember that nationalism is different so I can continue to enjoy it. Like I'm not a sports person, but when the Chiefs were playing that winning game last year I was watching. I stayed up and cheered for it.
Yeah. There's a difference. Everybody loves to be proud of what they are, man. When you boil it down, they want to be proud. And nothing makes people prouder than, like, where they're from or what they cheer for. You know what I mean? I just named you 3 separate moments in sports that make me feel like it makes my skin crawl. I can name a 4th. You guys know this one. The Blues had a song in 2019 when Jordan Binnington replaced Jake Allen in goal for his rookie year halfway through the season and went on a monstrous roll and absolutely was a huge reason we won 2019, right? Their winning song became Gloria because they heard it in a random bar that they were celebrating together in for a win, and the team collectively decided that they liked the song. So it became the winning song in 2019 for the Blues.
A lot of the toxic masculinity I felt came from a desperate need to be seen as a man. BC I've been forced to be a girl, which also created some misogyny. It was actually your content and Hassan that got me out of it.
That's awesome, man. But yeah, I hear the song Gloria and I freak out. I freak out. That song means that much to me. Because it was a huge influential point of the 2019 Stanley Cup run for the St. Louis Blues when we won it. Every time we would win, at home, play Gloria. Every time we would win away, play Gloria. They would play it in the stadium at home. The announcers would say, play Gloria away. Like, they would play the song Gloria every time. And then it became this huge thing when we won the actual cup. And you could ask any hockey fan in St. Louis about Gloria and they will freak out about it. My managers who got married in Australia, whose wedding I went to, one of their songs was Gloria. And I freaked out. I was not on the dance floor and I ran to the dance floor. Albeit I was wasted. But like, you can't artificially make those moments. But like, me being a man, I live for shit like that. Like, men live for shit like that. Especially women can just as well. Men absolutely live for it. Absolutely live for it.
Honestly, a core memory I often forget is being at a Red Sox game as a kid and I think my dad catching a ball and giving it to me. He also saved it from hitting a girl. I remember all the cheering and the music, the smell of cattle corn and popcorn, the lemon push pop I had. Sports are powerful, man. Also, I forget a name of Tay song, but the song's plays go out to is different for everyone and it made me so happy to know he was coming out because of the song. The pure joy you can get from sports.
Yeah. Yeah, every batter in a baseball game at home has a walkout song. There's a difference between nationalism and patriotism, and everybody loves to be patriotic towards wherever they're from. And it doesn't make you a right winger. It doesn't make you a Trump head. It doesn't make you MAGA. It makes you want to be proud of your country, man. Genuinely. You don't have to align in those ways and you can still be proud of being here.
My school, UNI, has a similar thing. When we win, the band plays The Stripper and it's so much fun. Definitely a core memory.
Like, there's nothing wrong with loving the place you're in. It can be hard as shit, especially right now. But ultimately, boiling it down, people want to. Desire for community is human nature, exactly. Absolutely. Like I said, psychologically, people want to be accepted and correct. Acceptance is a part of love. People want to be loved and correct. And being correct is a part of being accepted. So when they're being told they're correct, that's what they want to fucking hear. No. I'm a woman. I generally don't care about sports, but I'm from Chicago, and if anyone from out of town starts talking shit about our teams, I get heated.
There's something so touching about songs attached to that sports
Fuck
nationalism.
You.
Not
I'm from St. Louis. Fuck
but
you.
Every time I hear Frank Sinatra's New York, New York, I remember the elation of my childhood in seeing
you in
the
every
Yankees
Chicago sport.
win. Can't listen to it today
because I'm from
without
St. Louis,
smiling.
and that's what I got to do. The song Chelsea Dagger plays, and I want to vomit because that was the song that the Blackhawks used when they scored a lot, and they might still do it, but especially when they were winning cups. Gross. But I get you, because the St. Louisan in me wants to shit on the Chicagoan of you, because I'm proud of where I'm from. I'm proud of being from St. Louis. This guy just said he's an Avs fan. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Fuck the Avs and fuck Stan Kroenke. Fuck you.
I don't think I have a
Same
memory
shit.
like that about sports, but it reminds me a lot of specifically rancid concerts. Because I'm in Utah, can't wait to see the Blues destroy the hockey club. They always come onto the stage with the crowd
We'll
singing the RSL soccer team theme, and it always brings me back when I hear it.
It's the St. Louis in me, man. When you can boil it into a microcosm of your city you're from, you want to be proud. I love St. Louis. I love that I'm from there. It tears me up that I'm not still there, but ultimately where I'm at now is much better for my life and my family's life, and that's important to me more than where I am. But that doesn't mean I'm never proud of St. Louis ever again. I'm always proud of St. Louis, and I love being from there. But that means I got to shit on you for being an Avs fan, and I got to shit on that other person for being a Chicago fan. Because the most teams that St. Louis teams beef with are the Chicago teams, the Cubs, the Blackhawks. They've been butting heads for decades. And that is St. Louis pride within me. You know?
Since we are talking about US sports, I have to say it. The St. Louis Blues is a shit name. They shouldn't be called the Blues, that's just a color. Honestly, when you first said the Blues, I thought that it was a nickname, and I was blown away when I learned it was real. I'm sorry, but I had to speak my truth.
That's fucked up, man. That's fucked up. You're going to set me off. The St. Louis Blues is not based off of the color. It's based off of the genre of music, the blues. Because the blues, when it first started, had a huge influence in St. Louis. Fuck you. Literally, there is a trumpet on my shoulder on the Blues jersey I'm wearing. The logo!
Sports are so powerful. I got season tickets to the Washington Spirit. First game of the season this year, we were tied 1-1 and one of our rookies got the game-winning goal in the last minute, and the chills of having 12,000 people cheering together was beautiful.
The logo's a fucking music note! I'm gonna fucking get you! Yeah! Now, I would understand what you're saying if that was the case, but your argument that the team is based off of the color blue is actually just wrong. Because once again, it's based off of the genre of blues, the music, and they chose the color blue because, I don't know, it's the same fucking name. I'm not actually mad at you. Don't feel like you have to shut up. I'm just helping you understand, but I'm saying it in a way that's very defensive because you're attacking a huge thing that matters to me.
I'm not sure how much this relates to this conversation, but when I moved schools/cities, I felt so out of place. Yep. I joined marching band and started making friends. For some reason, everyone loved Sweet Caroline. It played at our band camp party. We sang it on the bus.
This is a
cut
great
school
name.
Short.
There's a team
But
called the
whenever I hear
Predators.
that song, it brings me back there, and I'm so happy I'm here and proud to be here and proud of the school I went to.
The Nashville Predators, which is supposed to be a saber-toothed tiger.
37 months haven't been able to watch in a while, but I'm glad to be back.
People don't necessarily think of an animal when they think of the word predator nowadays. You know, there's also, I don't know, the Chicago Blackhawks.
Not to change topic, but we all want to love where we're from, and the whole goal of this of politics, is to make America, or wherever you're from, into a
Just to
place
go
we
after
want to be
Chicago
proud of,
again.
and that's why we can't just give up and throw in the towel. I want to be proud of living here, and I'll do what I can to make sure we all can be. I don't go here, sports, but goddamn do I get the same Russian sense of pride with MCC.
That's why I love
There
it.
is a reason
Yeah.
everyone calls
I don't
MCC
even
the
think-
Super Bowl for
Yes.
gays.
Yes.
When you or Phil are in MCC, that's it, bitch. I'm feral, I'm stupid,
Absolutely.
I'm straight frothing like a rabbit squirrel.
Absolutely. When you think about how excited you get when I compete in MCC and win or come close, that's what it's like. I want you to like, when if a guy in your life,
TTS tonight calls my points are gone, but I'm actually super happy you decided to stream this topic tonight. I feel like you've helped calm a lot of people in chat tonight, and we got to discuss a wide variety of
say
topics
one.
pertaining to
Type
all
one if
manners
that's true.
of particulars, and I feel like it was a huge help to so many. I love you, chat BTW.
oh, I'm getting a phone call from Hannah. Hannah made pizza for us, but forgot to text me, so it's just been sitting there apparently. Well, yeah. Every time that you guys think about MCC and get excited
my
about
BF
the
and I were
competition,
thrifting, and he lives outside Nashville, and we found a
This is
shirt
what you
that
should think
said
about.
the Nashville Predators, but they changed IT, so IT said the Smashville Predators.
yeah, they call themselves Smashville, which is not great for a team that's already called the Predators. So they're basically, yeah, being like, yeah, our mascot in our team name has sexual slang behind it and connotations that are sexual. What should we do about that? Let's add another. Let's add another one, I think. No! Stop! Let's double down, Smile. Yeah, apparently that's the move. I don't know, man. Ooh. But I every time you guys watch MCC and get excited about the competition, I want you to think about
If
like
we're
I want you to
attacking
literally
dumb
think about
sports
your dad.
names, can we talk about the LA
Or
Lakers?
your
I
favorite
know they
guy
were
in your
originally
life that
from
loves their
Minnesota, but
sports
they
team, man.
ain't no lakes in LA.
If that's me, I
or
guess.
the Utah Jazz. That is the whitest place in the US.
Yeah.
Ain't no jazz in Utah.
Absolutely. Well, I believe the Jazz were from a different city originally. And that's why. And so were the Lakers. That is part of the problem, is sometimes teams change cities but keep their name, and the name was originally made to make sense with the city they're from. Yeah. But yeah, if you get excited about MCC next time it's
Have
happening,
you seen the school mascot of our ISD?
I just want you to think about a guy in your life that loves a sports team, and you feel like you don't get it. You do. You do get it. You just don't see it. You just need that. You just need that comparison, and it might help you get more involved in it. It's really hard to replace that feeling. And it's great. It's great to find that in a lot of ways, in different places. I also forgot to mention this. I guess I tweeted it, but they sent me my MCC coin for winning in San Diego. You're. So now I've got my season 3 and season 4 coins and a crown and 3 wins. Almost 4. Sad.
I rescind my previous statement and now understand
Yeah,
the
I thought
musical
so.
stuff on the jersey.
I thought so.
I may be stupid. Honestly, that's actually an awesome name now that I know. I was going to dunk on the Predators too, but you already mentioned it, Lamau.
Back up. Cool, man. Kind of a different stream, but it's a good discussion, especially now. There's a lot of concern and scared and fear, and I get it. I just thought I would like explain and talk about my thoughts, and it makes me feel a little less crazy if I'm honest. Yankees or Red Sox? Quick, literally neither. You're asking a St. Louisan if he would pick the Red Sox, a team that has notoriously faced the Cardinals in the World Series. I'm never picking the Yankees because fuck them and their giant cash cow of just spending money and winning. Same with the Dodgers, and I'm certainly not going to pick the Red Sox.
I never understood why my parents got so passionate about football. Then I almost put a fist through my desk when Technoblade's team was only 2 coins away from second place.
Oof. Yankees or Red Sox, you can't kill yourself. I'll find a way, man. I'll find a way. That's a challenge, if I'm honest with you. My head hurts. My head hurts. I have food downstairs. I miss my wife, Tails, and my team's about to play hockey. So I'm going to go do that. But it was a good stream, man. This was really fun. I like having this discussion. The points I bring up make me feel like I could lead the charge in that sort of regard in terms of like creating a space like that. We'll see. It would certainly feel weird to do it alone, but I feel like I do really well by myself. We'll see. I don't know. The white man destiny of a podcast. I don't know. All right, man. I appreciate you guys. I hope this was okay. I hope people feel like less scared. I mean, there's plenty of reasons to be scared. I ultimately think, if as a man who suffers from anxiety and depression, I constantly have to learn to stop jumping to the next problem. Because what anxiety loves is creating problems. And what it pretends to do is tell you it wants to fix it by having you constantly think about it and freak out about it. But the second that problem goes away, your anxiety becomes hungry again and finds the next thing to make you anxious and freak out. And it becomes this endless cycle of worry and stress that is a constant battle for someone like me and probably a lot of other people. And I don't think any of this stuff from the election helps, and I understand why. But I think if you constantly sit and focus on shitty things and think about the shitty things that could happen or do happen or might happen, you're going to feel shitty. And I think and it's difficult. It's hard to learn. And I still struggle with it all the time. It's difficult to take that energy and pull it elsewhere, but you can do it. And it's worth it. Because even if things still feel as shitty or are as shitty, you can still take the energy that your anxiety wants you to put towards it and make your immediate surroundings less shitty. For yourself, if anything. You know what I mean? want you guys to go to, next time you guys are with
hands you a card. It's the King of Cups.
okay. Next time you guys are with the most important male in your life, I want you to give him a hug. I want you to give them a hug and say you appreciate them. No matter, you know, if you're male, female, whatever. I think it matters. I don't think the solution for fixing things is to pull people across the alley and try to get people to vote the opposite. I think the important thing to do here is to try to heal yourself and help other people understand that it can be okay. And I'm not saying that we should treat people who want other people dead or their rights taken away as equal. I'm not saying that. But there's a lot of people who are falling in line because they're scared, not because they believe in most of that. There's a lot of people who fall in line because they're fearful and think they're alone. And I think if we focus on people who feel like that, instead of giving the time of day to people who want to fearmonger, want to spread racism and misogyny, etc. I think if we take the effort people want to put in to attack people trying to spew hate and put it towards people who could use it better or need it more, I think it could help. Maybe that's just me being optimistic, but yeah. Okay. I'll see you guys later. Tomorrow, charity stream for the World Wildlife Foundation. Animals, endangered animals. We'll do something positive with our negative feelings tomorrow, and we will raise some money for endangered species. Very cool. Even if it's $1, you got something. Think of some incentives. I have some ideas for things to do at a certain, donation goal. Think of some yourself. Think of ways to make my life harder for a good reason, for a good cause. You know what I mean? All right. I'll see you then. We'll probably start midday again. 2, 3, 4 p.m. I don't know. Bye-bye. Here's a calm ending where I just stare at you and not scream.